Now that I finally covered the very irritating lock out of the way and seeing that a lot of you do have pretty good opinions actually somehow. I mean, from what I read on Discourse, I thought it was going to be a lot worse, but okay, thank goodness. But today I want to talk about a deck that personally I've played a lot in DZ BTO7, and it's a deck that I don't really see much people talking about. The usual suspects always talking about this deck again, but hey, I too want to be included in the usual suspects. I too play Majesty Lord Blaster, right? Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm Mr. 4 here. Today I am back to cover uh, Dualmajestar Astroea Bico Stellar. And this is a very interesting video because I don't think anyone here expected this deck to even be made. or at least this came out of virtually nowhere, right? Like we were getting right lines, everything, and Dark States, they were like, oh yeah, we took off the mask of someone that you guys used to sim for. I'm like, Sophie Belle? Sophie Belle? Really? Real? But okay, so now that I finally have put M Crafter back in jail and I finally have sent the Twitter people back home, today I can talk about this deck in peace, or at least that's what I want to believe. Astroea Bico Stellar is by far the best incarnation of Majesty Lord Blaster I've seen, wherein this card feels a lot like the original Astroea back in DBT09, but they kind of snuck in the final effect of the mask for the restand, and it comes together all really well. I understand a lot of people say, oh, this is a downgrade from the mask, but better than the base. But I'm just like, I'm just so grateful to be alive. I'm just so grateful we got a new boss because this one is actually pretty good. It really ramps up the go first gameplay. The third four gameplay is also a lot more consistent, and there are ways you can turbo it, right? I'll get to that in a bit, but I do think this deck is pretty fun. I do think this deck is actually pretty viable myself. I definitely will be bringing this to a few locals to test and maybe even a WGP. But the thing is that this deck does have a few issues, and that's mainly not even its fault. Mainly stuff like it has no evasion, right? It doesn't have too much plussing outside of one culprit, which doesn't really help a lot. So today I want to cover this deck in its entirety. I've spent a lot of time testing this deck, and I'm pretty confident in this list. I would say that myself. And yeah, let's see how this deck goes, and I'm interested to show what I've made. So the right deck is exactly the same as the previous videos. It's exactly the same, just with a new grade 3. So I'll cover the grade 3 when we actually hit that grade 3 segment. But if not, the right deck literally is just the same. Pipis equals Milche, Schwartz equals Spada, Turan equals Dinah, and then of course there's Astroea equals Bico Stellar. I'll cover Bico Stellar later. The starter is just starter. I'm playing it because she's part of the archetype, yeah. Turan equals Spada is a card I've gained a lot of respect for. Not just because I'm secretly playing Daifu Dolls on the side, but also because this card actually has become a lot more powerful in the Astroea deck itself. When rolled upon by a card called Astroea, Turan equals Dinah, you can soul charge 2, and then if you soul charge a crit, you draw 1. I understand a lot of people ask me, why don't I play this in Favrneel? It's not good. It's not good, okay? It's not good. So if you're curious about what I'm talking about, I will link the previous Favrneel video in the description below, just for fun. But of course, I would greatly appreciate it if you stay behind to finish this video, because I do have some source to share with you. That is this one. The second skill, and the skill that you see most of, the most of the people from Twitter talking about for Direful Dolls, is just when your opponent is grade 3 or greater, bind, you can bind a card from your soul, and if you do, this card gets additional 10,000 power. So, again, this seems a bit weird. It's like, why do I care about this? Why do I need to worry about binding a trigger unit from the soul just to gain another 10? Like, I don't get it. Yeah, it's bind a trigger unit. My bad. I misspoke. It's bind a trigger. Why does that matter? It's because this girl has an effect to count the number of critical triggers and Astroea names they are in the bind zone. Yes, you heard me right. So we are gonna get into that, okay? So that's all you really need to know. And then of course the grade 2 we are still playing is this one. This is the one that basically when you ride a pawn, you just get an additional effect. And the additional effect is very simple. The additional effect is that when rode upon by a unit with Astroea in its card name, you can just straight up Call your grade 1 and grade 2. Right? That's it. You can do that now. You can just call the grade 1 and the grade 2 from the soul, and then that's it. So you basically have a whole column of Favrneel. I mean, I don't know who makes this stuff up, man. Like, who's writing this? It's Favrneel. It's just Favrneel, right? The second skill is just if you're Vanguard Dualmajestar name, you can count +1, choose up to 2 trigger units from your drop, put it to soul and you gain 5. You don't really use this effect, but you know it's pretty nice. And of course the grade 3, which I'll cover right now. Okay, the grade 3s is kind of interesting because I actually unfortunately lost one of my cards, so I'm just gonna put a proxy. I'm very sorry. I understand some people hate proxies, but I have to do it. I don't have a choice. Our grade 3s, we play 1 copy of this is Bico Stellar in the right deck, 3 in the main deck, and then following that we play 3 copies of the new dog. We play 1 ladder, and then last but not least I play 1 copy of the original Astroea. This is Astroea equals Unica. You need to play 1 original because Bifrons can only move a card with a different name, right? So this is really important. I understand some people play multiple, like they play 1 Bico masks and then 1 Astroea Unica. I think it's completely up to you, but you should at least play 1 additional name. I do think it's pretty important for that turbo. But do keep in mind that I lost my copy. I'm sorry, I lost my copy. So yeah, but just know that this is supposed to be that. Okay, so I just want to get it out of the way. You are supposed to play that. And then of course, ladder, the Regalis piece. Yes, I know I commented to somebody back on my lock video saying that, you know, I will cover this in light of lock, and this is the response. This is the only response you have for Astroea because this deck has no freaking evasion. I'm sorry, this may not have been the answer you wanted to hear, but this is a fact. The more important part, besides the lock protection, is that it gives your Vanguard 5k to draw. And that's very important when your Vanguard is a high magic number unit with crits. So I'll get to that when I get to that, okay? And then moving along, we still have this guy, Tree of Dog. This is the new dog from DZ BTO 7. I don't like him. I hate him with all my heart. He does nothing, realistically. I'm only playing it because he's a 10k shield. If you have a Astroea Vanguard and a critical in your bind zone, and if you have 3 or more of those, you get intercept. But again, this is, no pun intended, dog shit. Please don't play this. It's not very good. I will throw this out the second I get better support. The thing is that Astroea, because her beat sticks and everything come in the grade 2 lineup, it doesn't really give you much creativity for the grade 3 lineup. You could play the counter charge order, but the counter charge order is a -1. So yeah, that's why honestly I'm not really a big fan of this guy, but we are only playing him on necessity. And now the highlight, the one you've all been waiting for, that I've held you back for that long, and myself, it is Astroea equals Bico Stellar. Very interesting card. Honestly, I have no idea how they even thought of this card. I don't think I would have thought of this card. Like, you can tell this card was designed with 1 card in mind. Bifrons, right? Links to my previous Astroea video. But like, I don't get how they made a design this interesting. Let me explain. So, during your main phase, if you haven't wrote this turn, and you have a copy of this girl in the bind zone, right, you can actually discard a card and superior write the bind zone copy. Yeah, and then you activate Persona, right? So basically, right, on turn 3, if you have just like one of this in the soul, which is pretty easy to achieve because, like, for example, the demon dog guy, he moves a card from your hand to the soul, right? And or a drop from your soul. And there's quite a few cards that actually do that as well, like the brand new Chimera. This guy also moves a card from your drop to the soul. So you actually can set this up pretty easily. The only issue is Bifrons. Bifrons can't actually do that. To my knowledge, Bifrons moves a card with different name, and that does get kind of tricky because it says you must search for 1 card with Astroea and its card name and put this. Oh no, you can. Oh, okay. I take that back. This is way better. I forgot. I misread that. This is what happens when I don't write my scripts in full. So you can actually just put this in the soul then, right? You can just use Bifrost, chuck this in the soul, and then you're done. You're done. So you can just do that, and then after that you bind it when it attacks, and then the next turn you just write it back. Yeah, it's just that fun. It's generally just that fun. But not only that, the last skill is that when it's using attacks of Vanguard, Card Blast 1, Soul Blast 1, Soul Blast 3, sorry, bind all the critical triggers and Astroea in its card name, and perform the following according to the total number of crits and Astroeas, right? So that's why also we do play one of the base Astroea. It's not just because Bifrost can search it out. Generally speaking, it can, right? It doesn't say different name now that I have actually looked at this card again, because my eyesight is really getting worse. Yeah, it doesn't say that, right? It's just a card with Astroea. Yeah, and then put it in soul. So you don't even need to, but I still think it is a good idea to play that one of Garnet that I lost sadly, because of the fact that, you know, you actually do need a number of Astroea names in the deck that can qualify besides the critical triggers. You only have 8 critical triggers, so 8 criticals at max, and now 4 copies of Astroea is a pretty safe ratio. Okay, so again, I just want to stress that there is a reason why I would recommend you to play this, but you know, if you don't want to, it's fine. So now that you Card Blast 1 and Soul Blast 3 and bind all of the critical triggers and cards with Astroea and their card names, what do you get? You get a whole slew of effects listed down here, right? But what's very interesting is that if you are an Astroea player, you would recognize most of these effects. The first skill is, if you bind one or more, choose one of your opponent's rear guards, retire it, and all of your front row rear guards gain 5. So it's just, it's Holy Charging Roar. And a snipe, a free snipe. Okay, and the second skill is 3 or more. This unit gets crit +1, drive +1 until the end of that battle. So again, this is where the Majesty Lord Blaster name comes in, because you're gonna swing for an 18k Vanguard with 2 crits and 3 drives. Okay, so that's literally just Majesty Lord Blaster. I know I cover a lot of Majesty Lord Blaster clones on this channel. I know, but it is an obsession. It is a drug. It's a reason why my channel is named this. Is because I keep talking about decks that look exactly the same. And of course, the last skill is where things get different. If you have 5 or more, choose one of your rearguard units when this attacks and stand it. You get a rearguard stander in there. Just like that. It's really good. I understand that a lot of people may be asking me, but Armas, you only can bind 3, right? So if you only can bind 3 from this skill, how do you bind the other 2? That's the whole point. That's the whole point of this card. The whole point of this card is that you use this to bind the critical triggers, and then you use Astroea Soul Blast 3 to bind Astroea cards, right? Including the one of Garnet I've been telling you to play. And that's how, in the end, you can actually turbo this skill out even earlier. But I want to stress this while I still have your attention here. You don't need to make this a turbo deck. This deck can work with just the first 2 skills on turn 3. Majesty Lord Blaster is threatening enough as is. You don't need to push. This increases the ceiling of the deck, but the floor of the deck is still very strong. Okay, the floor of the deck is still okay. So please keep in mind that if you only have the first 2 skills on turn 3, it is completely acceptable. Only by turn 4, you should have that last skill up. If you don't have that last skill on turn 4, then you lose the game. Moving on to our grade 2s. Our grade 2s is pretty simple. We played this girl from the right deck. She's still here. Nothing particularly has changed, so say hello again. If you forgot what she does, please just go back in the section. Right? And then the grade 2 section besides her is very funny because they're all just griffins, right? You have this griffin, you have this griffin, and you have this griffin. Sorry, they're all chimeras. Some of them are griffins, some of them are chimeras. So, okay, insert a Peter Griffin joke here. I don't know what my thumbnail is going to say. Just say it insists upon itself or something. I heard that's now popular again. So I've covered 2 of these before, so it'll be pretty easy. Kids Peak Griffin. This one is just when placed on Vanguard Circle with an Astroea Vanguard, you can choose 2 trigger units from your drop, put into the soul. And the continuous skill is that if you have a critical trigger in your bind zone, this unit gains 5000 power and 5000 shield. So basically it's just a free stats. It is also a free way to move triggers because it's costless. Kids Peak, generally a lot of people throw this out of the deck because they forgot what it's like to play free cards. I understand Dark States has a lot of cool and interesting generics that you want to play in this deck and jam it in, but frankly speaking, playing a lot of cards with no costs actually is a lot better than you think. Because even though the effects seem way less powered, like they seem more consistent to the ground, a deck like Majesty Lord Blaster actually does appreciate a lot of its skills being free, right? So having most of your costs being only on either Astroea or later on, as I exposed to you, Bifronts, making the rest of the deck free means you can play this deck and not only low counterblast, you can play this deck in low hand situations as well. So again, I just want to put it out there. I understand some people don't agree with Kid Speak Griffin. I get it, but I still, from my testing, I'm still really a big fan of this guy. So he gets to stay for one more set. Yay! And then of course, moving on to the rest of the grade 2s. This one is familiar from my last Astroea video, so I'll put a link in the description. This guy is pretty simple. He's from DZBTO2. His skill says, when placed on Vanguard Circle, if you're Vanguard of Astroea, if you have a Vanguard with Dualmajestar in its card name, discard a card. Look at the top 2 cards in your deck. Choose one from among them. Put it in your hand, and then you can choose the other one. You can put it on top of the deck, and this only gains 5,000 power. So generally, even though he's a net 0, again, and he's also costless if you think about it, I'm playing it to help me sculpt my hand because he does give me a free discard. He does allow me to manipulate the deck, and he is free with a 5,000 plus. So basically, he's just there for the turn 2 tempo. If you find this guy in anything other than turn 2, that's great, but his utility really diminishes from there. So I'm only playing this just as a turn 2 rush piece. Again, I'm modeling this deck after Majesty Lord Blaster, so you understand that turn 2 rush is very, very important. And I know some of you may be wondering, Ames, I think you're stuck up about the whole rush thing. I need to remind you that this guy literally is Alfred early. You literally can call 2 cards from the soul. So any form of rush punishment that your opponent may deal back to you, you can send it back to them. You can just call 2 back and start attacking again. And one of them can even turbo your win con. Right? So all in all, I think you really need to lean to playing into your synergies rather than away from your synergies when you are actually building a deck. Which I know is very hard for some people to accept, but come on guys, let's get better together. And then of course, to wrap it up, our final grade 2 is this one. This is a new Chimera from DZBTO5. This one's pretty fun because they released this card, like the set technically, before Bico Stellar, right? So on all accounts, this guy seems to be made for masque. But actually, it has a devastating synergy with the new Bico Stellar, and I think it's definitely worth off at a 4. In fact, I'll go as far to say this is your win con. Okay? Here's why. When placed on a Vanguard Circle, if you have a Vanguard with Dualmajestar in its name, you can choose a card from your drop zone and move it to the soul. If your Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, you can actually give this unit 5,000 power. So you can use this as a rush piece if you want, but if not, you can just call it later on in the game and it's a 15k beater. Very similar to our previous Chimera. So you may be asking me, Ames, why are you so fixated on 15k grade 2s? And the answer isn't that I come from Dragon Empire. The answer is the second skill. When this unit stands by the effect of your Vanguard with Astroea in its card name, and if you have 4 critical triggers in your bind zone, so again you need 4, just have 4, and what it does is that usually gets a crit on the restand, right? So now your rearguard restanders that come from Bico Stellar is 2 crits, which means the plus 5k, the drive, the triggers you pass to this guy, they're gonna have extra crits as well. And again, costless. All you have to do is just get 4 crits in the bind, which is not too difficult. I understand it is a bit difficult, but it's not that bad. Especially when you see our grade 1s. Our grade 1s, again, this one's pretty fun. Obviously, we are still playing this girl. If you forgot what she does, please go back, because she's very important to the strategy. In fact, she's that important to the strategy. I'm playing 2 in the main deck. I know a lot of people go, I thought we don't play right deck cards anymore. This is very good. Please play it. Okay, I explained this to you just now. I would really appreciate if you play it, because it's actually pretty good. It's not just a Diafudol card anymore. For Perfect Guts, we're not playing Sanctitude just for political reasons, but you can just play Sanctitude if you want. I'd rather just play 4 PGs, because in a deck like Majesty Lord Blaster, your hand size can run low if you're offensively rushed, especially against stuff like Levi Joss. So yeah, just just do what you want. I can play Sanctitude, I'm choosing not to, but you don't have to follow me on that. The rest of our grade ones is pretty simple actually. It's just 4 Bifrons and 4 Twin Marvel. Again, I know more people go, oh, it's way so much rush. Okay, listen, it's a Majesty Lord Blaster deck. How many times do I have to repeat it to you? Bifrons is the one that's very easily at fault, right? She's the main star of the show. She's the reason why Astroea has won Ultimates throughout the entire of 2024. I don't think there is a scenario where I need to tell you to play this card. I think we all have a common understanding of what this girl does. But if you don't, when placed on the Vanguard circle, from the hand, counterblast 1, look at the top 3 cards of your deck. 1 goes to the soul, 1 goes to the hand, 1 goes to the draw. Again, it is a top 3 fixation skill. You get a +1. Technically, you can add a card from your soul, put a card in your draw. All of these are zones Astroea deeply cares about, because this is a card that uses a lot of resources in looping the different names and targets to pull off the whole effect. So again, this is a wonderful skill. But the second skill is a custom card. So I actually had to go and Google the English card just so that when I read it in English, I know what I'm saying, because there is a lot of text there. So if you have a Vanguard of Dualmajestar in its card name, Soul Blast 1 EV3, it has Energy Blast 3, search your deck for 1 card of Astroea in its card name, or a critical trigger, put it into your soul and shuffle the deck. If you put a card in your soul, which you obviously just did, you can choose a card with a different name from this unit and grade less than or equal to your Vanguard and call it to the rear card circle. So this girl basically omni searches, like trains the whole deck for any card of your choosing to put in the soul. And obviously the cards you're looking for are either criticals or Astroea, both of which she can do. And then, to top it all off, when you do that, you get a free Revive 1 from the draw. So again, anything that you guys may be thinking about in terms of, oh, my rush may be punished, you know, now that whole argument just goes out the window. You not only have an Alfred early, you have Columbine. You have Columbine now. You've got a Columbine, and you have an Alfred early in the same deck. Nope, not this one. This one. Do you understand why this deck is so good now? You can rush people to hell, and even when they, oh, I'm going to attack the rear guard instead, oh, I'm going to destroy your units. No, just revive, build the whole board back. Build the whole board back. Have it include this guy, have a 2 crit restander, and congrats, you're now Zorga masks as well. Like, Zorga Nadir. It's just that fun. It is just that easy. This deck genuinely can be for children, as long as children have reading capabilities above the age of, I don't know, 12. Like, once you understand this card, the rest of the deck just fits itself together. So, I don't have to stress enough. This is an absolute fall-off. I'm sorry, there is no substitute. If you cannot afford this card, do not play this deck, because it will be hell without, Bifrost. This girl's just so good. And the last one is Twin Marvel Dragon from DBT10. Honestly, this is one I like personally, but I can understand why people don't. Because again, just like, Kit's Peak Griffin, this is another one of those cards that has a free effect. So you notice this whole deck, I'm just building it around its in-archetype support that have no cost, right? Just because I want to play as heavy, as aggressive as possible to push my opponent to the breaking point without actually using much of my own costs, right? And the skill of this guy is when your Vanguard pays a Soul Blast 3 or greater cost, you can look at the top card of your deck, put it onto the top on your soul, and this unit gains 2000 power. So again, this sorry about that. I just realized. Yeah, I made a, did I make a reading mistake on that? Yeah, I did. The Griffin here doesn't just move into the, doesn't just either put it on top of the deck. You can either put it on top of the deck or the soul. Yeah, I should have mentioned that. That's my bad. So I'm sorry to any commenter who typed that out. I remembered my mistake. So what happens is that with Twin Marvel, you just need one Twin Marvel anywhere, right? Preferably behind the Vanguard. You can boost it. It becomes a 10k booster when you Soul Blast 3. You can look at the top card of your deck. You can either put it to the soul, or you can just stack it on top of the deck if it's an, So again, I'm only using this just for the free scry. It's technically a free way to build soul, but it is very slow. So I understand if you don't want to play Twin Marvel. In fact, you don't even need 4. If you want to play optimally, you can just play this at 2 or 3. I'm just playing at 4 because I have the space to do so. But you know, maybe this is where I'll cut the extra Astroea for. I'm not too sure. But again, this is definitely a card I do recommend Astroea players to still keep in mind, especially because you are playing a deck like Majesty or Blaster. Having top deck scries is very important, and that's the whole reason why I made that Coco video with Majesty Lord. Please check the links in the description below. And also, I heard Blaster Blade the Vanguard's coming to English now. Okay, I'm so happy for you guys. My heartiest congratulations. You guys honestly deserve it because it's a very fun card. It's not a good card, it's a very fun card. And our grade zeros is very simple. Grade zeros is just a starter, surprise. You know, who could have known, right? Who could have known? Over trigger, just play this one. Don't ask questions. It's just another critical trigger. I know you may say, why not Eidos Faro? Because Eidos Faro is not a force 1, force 2, so this is clearly better. 4 heals, you want to stay alive. 8 crits. If you somehow couldn't tell this is a crit based deck, I'm sorry. Play this crit because I think she's the cutest, but you know, you can play any crit you want. Just make sure you play 4 stem deviate because it can move into the soul. We play 3 effect draw, strictly just because, like I said, this is a Majesty Lord Blaster deck, so having pieces is good, and because a lot of our cards don't actually have costs, you know, you're gonna need to cycle the cards another way. So this is one of the better ways you can do it. Fronts also don't really make sense in this deck because, like, even if you do play a front, like, it means you would have had a front row, which, yes, does go in line with what I said previously about this being a rush deck, but if you don't get the pieces to start the rush, then you're just dead, right? And that concludes it. Yay! This is my Astroea video done for Twin Dualmajestar or Dualmajestar. I have no idea how they're going to dub this into English. Not only am I not a very great English speaker, but I just straight up do not understand what English Bushiroad is doing. Honestly, my conclusions for this deck is very simple. I am totally in love with this deck, the same way I'm totally in love with Sophie Belle. Mommy, please step on me. But this deck is generally just really, really, really fun. Everything I've wanted in Majesty or Blaster, I feel they have finally delivered in the wrong nation, right? Like, the beatdown, the aggro, the plussing, the critical manipulation, it is quite insane. This deck is genuinely really fun. I don't want to say this is the most fun deck I've played in 2025 because we just started 2025, but I would be lying if I said this wasn't one of my favorite decks this year already. Like, honestly, this is just insanely fun to play, and it can steal wins as well. It genuinely can. You can just crit and burst people out of nowhere and they'll just lose. The downsides, as I've mentioned earlier in the video, is that this deck has no evasion and doesn't really have much scaling beyond the looping of Persona Ride. Because you can loop Persona Ride every turn, right? But like, beyond that, you don't really do much. Even your Regalis piece, which would be ladder, doesn't really solve any of the deck's problems beyond the lock issue. So I feel like this deck has stabilized for the best right now. This definitely is a much safer direction than playing the masked version of Astroea, but I'm not sure what they'll give this deck in future, especially because they gave this last set. I'm kind of confused what they can actually print for Astroea in the future, when you not only have printed extremely busted cards like Bifrons before, but you've also printed extreme trash like this. Like, who the hell is going to play this? But all in all, as an Astroea fan, as a Sophie Belle simp, I am very happy for this deck. I will definitely be playing this for a while more to come. Until Platina SL, please, Kidani. I hope you still listen to me, please. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you all next time. Just want to give a shout out again. Thank you to everyone who has been watching my last few videos, especially like the log video. It does mean a lot to me. I do intend to cover 1 to 2 more videos from 07, so we'll see. Bye bye.